Good morning, everybody. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Last week's 5Q tape breakdown. In this 1 minute snippet, the advisor does some things well, and then when she hands him what he needs, he bites the hand that feeds him. So this is a great thing to listen to, a great tape to listen to remember. We need to not only know the scripts, we need to be listening to what the client says as well. Couple things here. Our brains tend to judge whole experiences by how they ended, which can lead to poor decisions in the future. How we remember our enjoyment of past experiences isn't always reliable, according to research. The study explains that humans tend to remember those that end well as more enjoyable and those that end poorly as less enjoyable, even if the two are equally pleasant. So what does that tell us how we should conduct our vacations? So it tells us about how we should conduct our vacations. We want to make sure the most fun day is the last day, not the first day. Yeah, end with a bang. That's right, Nick. End with a bang. When you're deciding where to go for dinner, for example, you think about where you've had a good meal in the past, but your memory of whether that meal was good isn't always reliable. Our brain values the final moments of the experience more highly than the rest of it. This is Dr. Martin Vestergaard, researcher at Cambridge's Department of Science, Physiology, Development, and Neuroscience, who led the study. So here's the thing. If you had a wonderful dinner and then for some reason there was a mix-up on the bill, or the waiter or waitress was rude to you, what happens to your whole view of that meal? You don't like it. It's bad. You don't want to go back. Now, if instead, let's say that you had a bad entrance, the maitre d' lost your reservation or whatever, you had to wait an extra 20 minutes, and you get in and the meal is wonderful, the service is wonderful. What are you going to think about going back to that restaurant then? If everything was wonderful after that bad experience, you're more likely to go back. Exactly right. The process has roots in two different brain areas which are activated whenever we try to make a decision based on experiences in our memory. However, they also compete with each other while doing so, making us either overvalue experiences that started badly and end well, or undervalue experiences that started well and end poorly. So, do we use this concept? Any ideas where we would use this concept? How do we use it in the 21-point checklist? How do we want to end every single one of those items on the 21-point checklist? What should be the last thing? We want to review at the end, Mark. But what do we, at the end of every single item, what do we want the client to say? Yes, my advisor is taking advantage of me. My advisor is screwing me. And then at the end, yes, we review, and do we review all the problems they have with their portfolio? All the items are missing? Is that what we review at the end? When we go backwards through the 20-point checklist? No, we go back and it's the advisor, the advisor, the advisor. So what do they remember when they go home? The advisor. The advisor equals bad. That's right. Advisor equals bad. Now, to prove that this works, they did a study. The team listed 27 healthy male volunteers, asked them to estimate which one of two pots of coins. I don't know why it was important that they were healthy, but one of two pots of coins on a screen had the greatest total value. These pots were shown one at a time, not side by side. So they showed one pot, then they showed the other pot. So what they had is the coins emptying from that pot. Now, but both pots had the exact same value of coins in there. But they were shown coins of varying sizes as they fell from the pots in quick succession. A functional magnet or an MRI machine was used to see what participants' brains were doing during the experiment. The task was repeated several times with different sequence of coins. Participants routinely chose the wrong pot as having the higher value when the coins. The participants chose the wrong pot when the coins shown decreased in size by the end of the sequence. The team explains. This suggests that their brains were using the more modest end as a cue to estimate the lower value. So if it ended up with small coins, they thought how much was in the pot? Lower, that's right. If it ended up with large coins, they thought how much was in the pot? More. And So, and did that have any, was that, although the intensity of this effect seemed to vary between participants, only a handful were able to bypass it and make rational estimations, according to the authors. So now, what do you think is going to happen to that estimate if these people were actually vested in the coins instead of even that handful? It said most people weren't able to not take that what happened last into account, but a few were. But even if that few people, if it was their money or they have a vested interest in that, if they were emotionally involved with that money, what would have happened to even those few that were able to do it? So my question is, when there's nothing involved, most people still screw it up. But if you're emotionally involved, then how many people are going to screw it up? Yeah, all of them. You know, the analogy I give is this, is that if you were going to bring on let's say that you were talking to a CEO of a company, and you went through and showed all the fees that the company was unnecessarily paying and all the ways that company was getting screwed, how many CEOs would move? All of them. Because the CEO is making what kind of a decision? Rational or emotional? Rational. It's not his money. Now, he thinks you did such a great job with the company. You go home, he says, I want you to manage my funds too. So you go home and you start showing him all sorts of things that's wrong with his portfolio. Now, see, he made rational decisions before when it was the company's money. How is he going to make his decisions now when you go home and start talking about his money? Yeah, it's going to be emotional now. It's going to be emotional. Make sense? So today we want to talk about the best way to practice things, because between now and the end of the year, what should you be doing if you want to use your time effectively? Practicing the 21-point checklist. So we go to Nature, the journal Nature Neuroscience, and they talk about the best way to learn things is with multimodal learning. Multimodal learning suggests that when a number of our senses, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, are being engaged during learning, we understand and remember more. By combining these modes, learners experience a variety of ways and to create diverse learning styles. So if you want to learn something, you should use visual, auditory, reading, writing, and kinesthetic. So let's talk about that. If you're learning the 21-point checklist, what would be a visual way to learn it? What would be a visual way to learn it? Practice with someone, yeah, absolutely, John. That would be one way. How else? The video. That's right, Kevin. We have the video, right? Now, auditory. How would we best use auditory way to learn it? Tapes, right, Nick? You would tape yourself, replay it back. Tape yourself, replay it back. How would we use reading and writing? Notes, that's one way. Yep, how else? The app, that's right, the Anki app. Yep. If you don't know what the Anki app is, you should contact Matt, and he can help you with that. But it's a way to learn using digital flashcards. Also, yes, write out the scripts. Kinesthetic. How would you learn it kinesthetically? I'll go right back up to practice with someone. And when you're practicing with someone, what should you have? What should they have in front of them, and what should you have in front of? Yeah, that's right. Role play the actual, Kevin. Role play the actual. With the actual 21-point checklist in front of you and them. So you're turning the pages, you're pointing to things, you're drawing out the circles, you're doing all the things you need to do. So if you want to learn the 20-point checklist, use all of these: visual, auditory, reading, writing, and kinesthetic. Now, from Popular Science, they're talking a little bit about this. In music, you have scales. Jiu-jitsu, you have drilling. Most of us just call it practice. Whatever you label it, many believe that greatness, heck, even more mere competency requires training a skill well past proficiency. Is continue to learn and practice your free throw even after you've nailed every shot. So, how often does Curry miss free throws? Often or not often? Rarely. Does that mean he never practices free throws anymore? What's he still do? He's out there practicing free throws. So you want to practice past your proficiency. You know, the way that I say it is, don't learn till you get it right. Don't learn till you get it right. You should what? Learn it so you can't get it wrong. You guys are so smart. Learn it so you can't get it wrong. It's continue to practice your free throw even though you've nailed every shot. It's playing through that song one more time even though you've made no mistakes. Rock and roll bands, what do? Do they stop practicing their songs? No, they still practice. Even though they played them thousands of times, the Rolling Stones still practice their songs. Scientists call this training past the point of improvement over learning, and a study in Nature Neuroscience suggests that it might improve performance by altering the chemicals in the brain that lock training. So to test this theory, researchers took two groups, taught them a specific skill. After the first group mastered the skill, they took a 30-minute break and then learned something new. Now, lo and behold, when they did this, guess what? The next day when they looked at or tried to practice those skills, the first skill they learned, guess what? Didn't remember it. They only remember the second skill they worked on. So that's just like we talked about, right? What's the brain remember? The first thing you do or the last thing you do? The last thing. So that 30 minutes was wasted. That 30 minutes they spent or learning that new skill was wasted. Now the second group learned the same skill as the first group, took 30-minute break, and then instead of moving on to the new task, they went back and relearned the first skill for the same amount of time. When that was done, they moved on to the new task, and then they only memorized the new task once. So now they spent an extra 50% time, right? Because they learned the first thing, went back and relearned the first thing, and then learned the second thing. So they did spend 50% more time learning, right? Did everybody get that, or am I confusing everybody? Get some yays or nays. Does that make sense? Okay. So this first group here spent one set of time learning the new thing, one set of time learning the second thing. This group, the other test group spent one set of time learning the new thing, a second set of time learning the new thing, and then a third set of time learning the second thing. Does that make sense now? So there's 50% more time. But what ended up happening is they aced both of the tasks now. So they spent 50% more time, but what happened? They learned 200%, where before they only learned what? So what happened is this. In the usual situation in which you stop training on a new skill immediately, after you've mastered it, the area of the brain related to the skill is still plastic. It says blah, blah, blah. Brains are flexible. They are adept at learning new tasks. What Watanabe's research suggests is that if you stop training a skill right after you've acquired it, the brain stays in its ready-to-learn state, and it rewrites over what you just learned. It's going to rewrite over what you just learned. That's why when you were told to learn a poem, memorize a poem in school, did you just want to memorize the poem? Okay, I learned the first line. Okay, I'm going to go to the second line. I learned the second line. Okay, then I go to the third line. I learned the third line, and then I'm going to go to the fourth line. I learned the fourth line, go to the fifth line. I learned the fifth line, go to the sixth line. If I learn it that way, at the end of the poem, what happens? I forget 80% of the poem. Instead, I learned the first line, then I learned the second line, then I practiced the first and second line. Then I learned the third line, then I practiced the first, the second, and third line together. Then I learned the fourth line, then I practiced the first, second, third, and fourth line together. When you do it that way, it sticks. Now, does it take more time? Yes, but as our mom said, told us when we were kids, what? You save time by taking time the first time and getting it right. Because if you rush through it, what's going to happen? It seems like you save time, but in the end, you haven't. Does that make sense? So it takes longer, but it sticks longer. Now that said, make sure though your perfect practice makes perfect. So in order to make sure you're doing something right, you got to do what? Record yourself. Listen to yourself. Now, many people say, but man, I don't have time for that. I don't got the time to do that. Well, let's look at habits of unsuccessful people. They act before they think they know it all, They try to bring others down to their level. They stop learning. They blame others. They think and say negative things, have a sense of entitlement, hold a grudge, always angry at others, don't know what they want to be, secretly hope to fail, secretly hope others fail, take the easy way out. There's one that reflects on what we're talking about today. Get distracted every day. They don't have goals. They criticize. They waste their time. They hoard data. Fear change. Give up easily. But let's talk about this. If you don't have any time, let's talk about how we could make time. Let's see if we're wasting any time. And I've done this with folks, and I know Jeff has too. When somebody tells me they don't have any time, and they're not writing hordes of business, I'll ask them, do me a favor. Every single set, put an app on your phone that chimes at the top of every hour. And you won't have to do this forever, but just for 1 week, what I want you to do is every time that chimes at the end of the hour, write down what you were doing for that hour. So over 8 hours, you're going to log in 8 times what you're doing during that hour. So next week when we meet Mr. Advisor or Mrs. Advisor, we're going to look at all 40 entries and see why you don't have time to do things. And what happens when we look at those 40 entries next week? How busy do we find they really were? Is there a valid entry on all 40 of those hours? Not even close. When we look at those 40 hours, how many of those 40 hours are actually taken up by things that were productive? Most, or a lot less than most? Yeah, a lot less than most. So let's try to find you some time to do perfect practice, to learn the right way. If you don't have time, the truth is you don't have priorities. So it's not that they weren't busy. They did fill in those 40 hours. They were doing things, but were those things productive? They were not. So think harder, don't work harder. So if something feels urgent, you need to ask yourself what? Yes, that feels urgent. Yes, looking at that email seems urgent because the computer dinged. My phone rang. It seems urgent. Or I got dinged because I got a text. It seems urgent. But is looking at your phone to look at the text or pick up that phone, if you look at the number, if it's anything other than home, is it urgent that you pick it up? Yeah. So you got to go back to the Eisenhower matrix, which is not important, urgent and not urgent. So something is urgent and it's important. If there's a fire in your wastebasket in your office, is that urgent? Yes. Is that important? Yes. So when should you do it? Now. If your wastebasket is overflowing with garbage, is that important to get rid of it? Yes. Is it urgent? No. If a client's coming in 5 minutes, is it urgent now? Yes. So same problem, different circumstance. So you should have this in front of you constantly and ask yourself, is it important and urgent? Oh, I'm going to do it. Is it important and not urgent? I should put it on my calendar. If it's not important and urgent, I'm going to delegate it to somebody else. If it's not important and not urgent, I should do what? Eliminate it. Constantly researching money managers, is that important and urgent or not important and not urgent? How often should you be researching money managers? How often should you be researching money managers? Once a year, right, Tom? Once a year. So what I did in December is I looked and researched all the FIAs and decided my top 3 FIAs, my number 1 FIA, my number 2 FIA, and my number 3 FIA. And then when did I look at FIAs again for that year, for the next 12 months? Didn't. Money managers, I went and looked at money managers to make sure the one that I was using was still valid. And then when did I go looking for new money managers? So if you're looking at a new money manager or researching where you're going to put clients' monies on any month except December, you're what? Where is that? Is that important or not important? Urgent or not urgent? Because unless you have a crystal ball, what's changed since December? If your money manager turns crappy in 6 months, how good a job did you do researching? If an FIA closes to new business, you still have what? 2 other FIAs. Yeah, does that make sense? So make sure you're evaluating what you're doing. And I would recommend everybody go through and do that exercise, that 40 hours, chime every hour, write down what you did that hour. Chimes, write down what you did that hour. Chimes, write down what you did that hour. Because it's a real eye-opener on how you spend your day. And there's only one asset God only gives us so much of, and what's that? We can always make more money, can always make more friends. What can we not make more of? Time. And how do most people treat time? Myself included, how do most people treat time? As if they've got what? An unlimited amount. And we don't. We don't. So tape yourself on a regular basis to practice perfect. See, you're never going to find time unless you make time. So if you want to be learning the 21-point checklist, perfecting your communication skills, you'll never find time unless you make it time. So I'm going to help you magically find more time, okay? So I'm going to help you find 247 more minutes a day. How many hours is that, guys? How many hours is that in a day? Divide by 60, we come up with how many hours? 4 more hours a day. Yeah. So first, when most people, guys, come into the office, what do? Do they plan their day or do they just jump into the work? What do most people do? Plan their day or just jump into the work? Most people just jump into the work. So the first thing you want to do is make a plan. You'll save yourself 30 minutes a day by making yourself a plan. What am I going to do? What's the top 3 things I want to make sure I get done today? Before you tackle a single task, first of all, do your 15-minute drill. Then create a game plan for the day. How many meetings do you have? How much prep is needed? What else are you going to be working on? How much time are you going to allow to accomplish it? Put it in the calendar. Why? Because we all know that if I have to clean the garage and there's no time limit on it, how long will cleaning the garage take? All Saturday afternoon. If instead, all of a sudden I realize, oh, I've got to clean the garage because I've got to put my boat away and they're delivering the boat this afternoon, now how quickly will I get it done? Yes, you're right, Kevin. Calendars have hard edges. It tells me exactly how long I need to be doing something. Doing this every single day will save you 30 minutes. 80% of sales require follow-up calls after the meeting. 44% of sales reps give up after one follow-up. So if we're doing our job, we should be following up. But in order to save yourself a little bit of time, not a lot, but 5 minutes, call at different times. Should we only do follow-up phone calls in the morning? No. On Mondays, maybe we do follow-up phone calls in the morning. Then we do follow-up. Tuesday, we do follow-up calls in the afternoon. Sometimes in the late afternoon, sometimes in the early afternoon, because we want to catch people are busy at different times during the day. So it gives you more chance to catch them. So that'll save you 5 minutes. Beginning of class, you guys are taking too many notes. You'll never keep up with what I'm saying. 10 minutes later, you guys aren't taking any notes at all. So taking smart notes can save you 7.5 minutes. So these 2 aren't very big, but they add up. So if you're taking notes while you're learning the 21-point checklist, you're taking notes while you're doing your 15-minute drill, this Cornell method of taking notes, which you can find right here, is a fantastic way to keep notes. Keywords, the notes on those keywords, and then a summary. It's a much better way to take notes. So as you're learning new things, well, and here's the thing, guys. If you're just reading the paper, you're just reading journals, you're just surfing the net, if you're not taking notes, then what are you doing? Because I talk to a lot of guys, and they'll talk about, well, I'm reading the Wall Street Journal, or I'm reading this, or I've got these great blogs that I follow. Well, if you're just doing that and you're not taking notes, are you learning anything, or are you just wasting time? So don't bother reading those things unless you're trying to do what? When I'm going through a magazine, guess what I'm doing? And I got right now, I'm looking at about 1.5 foot of magazines I need to go through. When I'm going through those magazines, I'm not just licking my finger and turning the page, licking my finger. Yes, I'm working. That's the best way to say, Tom. Working to pick up salient points. I'm taking notes. Well, that's something I can use. Waste time, waste time, waste time, waste time, waste time. Oh, there's something I can use. Take notes on it. Waste time, waste time. Oh, there's something I can use. Take notes on it. Does that make sense? If you're not looking for something specific, if you're not saying how can that increase my worth, increase my value, increase my knowledge, if that's not something that will help me build my business or my knowledge or my personality or whatever it may be, if it's not making me a better person, then why are you reading it? And if it is going to make you a better person, then learn it. Take notes. And this is the best way to take notes. Time saved, 7.5 minutes. Now, here's a big one. When a client leaves the meeting, I don't care if you're doing a virtual meeting or an actual meeting, should you say, I'll call you to schedule the next time? No. You need to make the next appointment when? Right then and there. What do you do if they say they don't have their calendar? Come on. How many people don't have their calendar in their purse or or in their head or know what's going on? So what we'll say is, well, if they tell me they don't know when their next or they don't have their calendar, here's what I say. Super. Do you bowl? What do you mean, do I bowl? Yeah, do you bowl? No, I don't bowl. Okay, do you belong to a Bible study group? Well, yeah, I do. Well, when is that? Thursday mornings. Okay, Thursday mornings. Okay. Gardening group? When do you work out? Well, I work out in the mornings from 8 to 9:30. Do you visit friends on a particular day of the week? No, not really. It's just whenever. So what do you have hardwired into your calendar? Well, I guess just the Thursday morning, and then Thursday morning for Bible study. Great. So let's not schedule during those times. Let's pick another time, and then we're likely going to find that that's an okay time, and that way we won't waste your time chasing me and me chasing you. Let's just get it in the books. That's how you do it. Because how many people are so packed up that they don't that their calendar looks like it's just jam packed? We're in business and our calendars aren't jam packed. What's a retired person calendars look like? And if they volunteer, do they do it randomly or do they do it in the same day of the week? From what you know about retirees, do they do things randomly or are they very scheduled on their activities? Random or scheduled? I got one random and I got lots of routine. Yeah, they bowl on the same day. They play mahjong on the same day. They go to their garden club on the same day. They have their book club on the same day. They go golfing on the same day. They have a routine. So all you do is start mentioning some of these routines that you know about them and say, okay, so we can't do it then. Let's choose some other time, and there's a high likelihood that's going to work. That way I'm not chasing you. You're not chasing me. It'll save us both times. Let's get in the calendar. Get it in the calendar. That's going to save a ton of time. 20 minutes. Why does it save 20 minutes by getting the calendar right now? Those of you that have had to chase people to get them in the calendar, is 20 minutes actually probably a small amount of time? It'll usually take a lot more than that generally to chase them, call back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Yeah. So this saves at least 20 minutes. I think it saves way more than that. They don't leave a meeting till another one's in the books. Get rid of this. Where should this thing be? When you're working, where should this thing be? Not even silenced. It should be where? What have you seen what science has told you? If you have your cell phone in your pocket, so you don't see it, but it's in your pocket, what does that do to your ability to focus? Even if it's not ringing, even if it's not vibrating, just the physical act of having it in your pocket reduces your ability to focus. That phone should not be in the same room as you. I remove the phone. My phone, when I'm working, is not in my office, period. It's not in my office. What they found is when you remove this phone, you're saving yourself 25 minutes a day. Now, the next one kind of combines on it, because you might think, well, I'd probably save more than that. Because I do save more than that if I don't have my phone there. But that's just talking about the lack of focus that phones cause. If you do these types of things on your phone or on your computer, now how much time are you going to save? Should you be looking at Facebook when you're at the office? Should you be looking at Twitter when you're in the office? Should you be looking at YouTube when you're in the office? These other distractions, time saved, 140 minutes. Now, it's not necessarily 140 minutes straight. Here's what happens. When you watch a little video and then come back, time to deal with the interruption, plus how long it takes to return to pre-interruption mindset, is the true cost of interruptions. The other thing is, have you ever done this? I had Minesweeper. This is years ago. I had Minesweeper on my computer, and I thought, you know what? I need to relax a little bit. I need to just play some Minesweeper. And holy frick! 2 hours later, I look up and the clock. 2 hours has gone by. And I'm playing Minesweeper. Does that happen? Can you go down that rabbit hole? Because when you look at Facebook, you think you spent 2 minutes, but what ends up being how many when you look at the clock? You get lost. Your mind just gets lost. And so you got to just remove it. Chalk and Horde, do you know how much time you spend on your phone? Adrian Matai spends 2 hours, 20 minutes a day on her phone, which might seem fine until you realize it amounts to 35 days a year. Guys, 2 hours on your phone is 35 full days a year. How much time do you spend on your phone? Well, here's a great way to figure it out. If you have an iPhone, you can actually go into your iPhone and get a report on how much time you're spending on your phone. So you can go in, get the insights about your screen time, and set limits to what do you want to manage. So what you can do is go into your, well, actually just go online, and it'll tell you exactly how to do it, whether it's an iPhone or an Android. It's easy to do, and it will tell you how many minutes you're on your phone, what you were doing on the phone, and send the report to you. That's right, John. Have the report sent to you each week. Why do you want that report sent to you each week? Because do you think you're going to guess that you spent less time or more time than you actually spent? Way more time. You're going to think you spent. You're going to think you spent less time. That's right. You're going to think you spent way less time than you actually did spend. And like we just said, 2 hours and 20 minutes a day on the phone is how many wasted days a year? 35 days. It doesn't seem like 2 hours, 20 minutes is that much. 35 full days. That's huge. Also, have a plan A. Let's say that at the beginning of the day you have a plan, right? These are the 3 things that I want to get accomplished. Here's the 3 things that I want to get accomplished. And it ends up that you can't do plan A for whatever. For whatever reason. Maybe your computer froze up on you. You can't do plan A because you wanted to do put together a presentation for a client or a 200-point checklist for a client, but for some reason your computer froze. You can't do plan A. What do you need to? What are you going to do then? Go to item what? Number 2. That's why you say, here's my to-do list, number 1. And your to-do list should be in what? Order of what? First thing comes to mind or order of priority? Priority. If you can't do the first one, then you go to the second one. Can't do the second one, go to the third one. Time saved, 20 minutes. See, 12 things successful people do in a day that last 10 minutes, the last 10 minutes of the workday. So begin your day with a plan and end your day by what? Update your to-do list, organize your desk and desktop, review what you achieved for the day. What did you do during the day? Reflect on the good things that happened the day and the things that could need improvement. They bet urgent communications. So yeah, you're going to look at your email, you're going to look at your phone. At the end of the day, say, do I need to follow up on any of these things? Stay focused. They determine the primary goals for tomorrow. They review the schedule for the next morning. They say thank you to someone, show gratitude every single day, say your goodbyes, leave on a positive note, and go home. And then when you're at home, you need to create a nighttime ritual for more productive mornings. Nighttime rituals of the uber successful: keep all electronics out of the bedroom. Read fiction for 15 to 20 minutes before sleep, not nonfiction. Nonfiction gets you thinking. Read fiction for 15 to 20 minutes. It's a good release or depressurization of your mind. Keep your sleep schedule on schedule, even on the weekends. Make sure you sleep in a tidy bedroom. Lay things out you'll need for the next day. Ask yourself, did today matter? Ask yourself, what do I have to be grateful today? Has there been science that on this? How much science has been validated that what I do to be grateful for today, lending your day with gratitude will improve your life how much? It will improve everything. It'll improve your family life. It'll improve your health. It'll improve your business life. Your last thought of the day should be what you're grateful for. Make sense? So this is tools that you guys should be using. Should you be? What if you just took all the stuff we talked about today, say, "Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense," and then you move on? That was a waste of time then. Take some of these tools that we talked about today and do what? Apply them. Take an extra. So we're going to end here 20 minutes early. Take 20 minutes and take 5 of those. Take 5 of those ideas and put them down on paper and implement them. Does that make sense? Coolio. Well, I appreciate all you guys. You have a wonderful rest of the week, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks, everybody.